Let's look at the practical implementation of activity 8.11 in Python. I have practically implemented this program in Python. Let's have a look at the code and then I'll show you the output. First of all, I have declared the variables class average, student average and subject average, which were supposed to be in real data type, that is decimal, that is it should be in decimal or points form. Then I have declared student, subject and test for the sake of iteration of the three loops. One student is for outermost loop of students, subject is for inner loop, and the test is for innermost loop. Then I declared three variables for overall for the whole class: the highest marks of class, the lowest marks for class, and the total for class. Low is initialized as 100 because every time we compare any mark with 100, if it is lower than 100, then we will keep on assigning a lower value to class low. Then comes the turn of these three variables: student high, student low, student total. And then comes subject wise term. Although in the pseudocode given in your book, the number of tests is 5, but right now we are just but because it is a requirement of the question that you can just reduce the number of tests to 2 or 3, so I have reduced the number of tests to only 2 over here. And because the requirement of your activity 8.11 is this, that for now just consider a single subject, and for now just consider a single student. Over here it's written that just consider only a single student, so I am considering only one subject over here, and I am considering class size to be of only one student right now. Now this is the outermost loop, which will start from 0. It will go till class size, which is 1 right now. Only one student is there in this class right now. And I have added this extra statement to print the number of students. I have written student plus 1 over here because starting value of student will be 0. But we should show it on screen that the first student is student number, the first student is not 0, so we have to tell that this is student number 1, and the subject is also subject number 1. And for first subject we have to we have to input marks of test 1 and test 2. Then we will calculate and display the average, maximum and minimum of one subject, first subject. Then we will calculate the average, maximum and average, highest and lowest of one student, and then in the end we will calculate average, highest and lowest of the whole class. Now every time the outermost loop will run, the student high will be assigned a value of 0, low will be assigned a value of 100, and total will be assigned a value of 0. Then comes the second, and then comes the inner loop. For that student appearing in various subjects, and this loop needs to be iterated to till the number of subjects. Right now the number of subjects is also only 1. So for the first subject the value will be 0 according to the statement written over here. But for the sake of our ease, I have displayed subject plus 1 on screen, so that on the screen it should be written that this is the first subject, subject number 1. Okay, now every time the loop will iterate, every time for every subject, subject high, low and total will become 0, because for high every mark will be compared with 0, and higher values will be stored over here. For subject low, every time 100 and any value lesser than 100 will be compared, and lower values will be stored over here. And for total, every mark that will be added to this subject will be added to subject total. The innermost loop is that for that particular student, for that particular subject, and then we are coming to number of tests. In the pseudocode there were 6 tests, but the activity 8.11 requires you to consider only 2 tests. So I have considered only 2 tests. For each test I have printed the value number of test value of test. Why I have written test plus 1 over here? Because initially the value of test will be 0, but we want to display 1 over here for the first test. That is why I have written plus 1 over here. We will ask from user to enter the marks of test, and the marks will be saved in a variable named mark. This mark will compare if the marks of that student are will be greater than subject high, then these marks will be assigned to subject high. If the marks of the students will be less than that value, that will be assigned to subject low. And in the end, the marks of every test will be added to the subject total. For that subject total, subject average will be calculated. So this is the formula I have taken from the pseudocode given above. Then we will print the values of that subject average, subject high, and subject low of that specific subject from here. Then comes the student high, student low, because on the level of student we are now comparing subject high with the student high. We will if it will be greater than 0, it will be assigned to the student, and if it will be less than student low 100, then it will be assigned to student low. A total for every student, his on the total of all his subjects will be added to his student total, and his total will be calculated along with that. And for his average, the formula is number of tests into number of subjects. This is the formula that I have taken from your book. And then we will print the average, highest, and lowest of the first student. If student high is greater than class high, now in the end, for the outermost loop, which is for class, we are right now we are considering only one student. So if the marks of students are will be greater than 0, they will be assigned to class high. If they will class total means that total of all students will be added to class total. Class low means the lowest of marks that any student has got in that class. So these will be calculated in the end, and class average will be calculated, that what is the average score of the class, which will be printed in the end. This is what I have done over here. So this was activity 8.11.